Hola amigos, bien o no, mis saludos desde Inglaterra. Hoy el tema es un poquito, como dice, matemático, pero solo en el punto del pensamiento. Y el tema de hoy es para mirar las cosas que estamos utilizando para mejorar nuestros estudios y para ser seguro que nosotros estamos utilizando y buscando en toda la información posible para ayudarnos. So ese es el tema de hoy. So, hello again from another chilly England. Today I'm looking at this book, How to Solve It, by George Polyá. It was written nearly 80 years ago. Very interesting little book. I got this quite some years ago to try and help me understand mathematics. I fear, unfortunately, his genius is still not enough to save me. But one thing it does mention is when you're trying to solve a complicated problem, he always asks you to be sure, did you use all the data? In other words, looking at all the information you had at hand, did you use all of it to help you solve the problem? So if we look at language learning as the problem, did we use all the data? Did we use all the information we had at hand to help us solve the problem, which is for us to improve, well, let's not say necessarily our fluency, but certainly to improve our communication and how confident we feel in that. So rather like feeling more confident in solving maths problems, in a way, if we can solve the conversation problems, particularly that we have day to day, we're going to feel more confident, and that's going to improve our communication as we progress. So how can we use all the data that's available? How can we do that? Well, I like to look at this as all the different elements that come into conversations with other people. There's lots of information around if we take time to look at it. So perhaps today you've had a conversation that didn't work very well. Either you were misunderstood, or you generally just didn't understand, and there was a lot of bad communication in some way, something went wrong, or you didn't communicate the way you expected to, you didn't get the result you expected. Now, although we can't turn back time and necessarily have that conversation again, we can look at it and think, what clues in that conversation did I miss? What was it that I got wrong? That might be obvious. Perhaps you just misunderstood some of the words. It might be you didn't understand really the kind of emotion the other person was trying to transmit to you. So perhaps you heard them say something and you didn't understand that they meant that in a more serious way, or perhaps they meant it in a more light-hearted way and you took it too seriously. Things like that. So in the sense of bringing all the data together, is to kind of step back a bit, think about what went wrong, and try and think about what things you might have missed. So if this was like a telephone conversation, was it something you didn't hear clearly? Is there some kind of phrase you're not quite sure what that was? Can we listen for that better? Is there something in what you've been listening to that you're having trouble with? That might give you a clue as a way you can fix that problem. Either listening to more of these types of conversations, you're clear as to, you can really identify all the words you're listening to, so then you understood it better. Or it could be something you're saying or something you're not saying, or the way that you're saying what you wanted to say. Were you clear in what you were saying? Were you saying it too quickly? Were you using a tone of voice that was perceived in a way you didn't want? If you're having the conversation face to face, of course there are other things we can bring into this, other data that might help us understand what's going on. we can look at the facial expression of the other person. We should then be able to tell whether they're actually happy, angry, upset, sad, whatever. So that could perhaps affect the way we understand what they're saying. These kind of clues. So particularly if you've had one of those days where you're trying a new language, but the communication is difficult, it's not getting you to where you expected, step back a bit, go back to one of those situations that perhaps didn't work the way you expected, and try and look at it from all different angles. Not just necessarily yourself, put yourself in the other person's position. Think about, how do they hear you? What did you really say? As well as looking at what the other person said and what was it there that you didn't get, what did you not understand? Sometimes you might have to listen to different types of these conversations. So this is where YouTube and things like this are very helpful, because you can look at conversations in that particular context, again, with lots of other voices talking about the same type of conversation. You should start to see patterns in that which might help you understand better that general situation. But there is a point perhaps we have to look at ourselves and say, no, I'm not saying that word clearly. That's what's confusing people. I'm saying this, they're hearing that. That's what's causing us the confusion. So again, try and bring all that data together, use it all, think about it. That's your way to improve it. So I hope that one's useful. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, we'll say cheerio.